Hello all, Old Geek again, and I'm going to talk you through making a character for Middle-earth role-playing. There it is. I had hoped to do this live in Roll20 using the auto-calculating sheets that utility has, but my PC would not play ball, so I'm going to have to use simple screenshots of a manual sheet instead. Oh well. A few important bits of info before I get into the character creation. Middle-earth role-playing, or MERP for short, is a percentile-based game. There are 6 core classes and numerous racial options. I'm going to be using the class creation options as presented in the MERP 2nd edition Collector's Edition hardback book, which is the one you see behind me. The book introduces some extra optional classes, but I won't be considering any of those for the purpose of this video. The 6 core classes are Warrior, Ranger, Scout, Bard, Mage and Animist, which is a Cleric Druid hybrid. This will be a classic character, a simple one, a Dwarven Warrior. So, say hello to Geekly. I have filled some basic details into this sheet already, as you'll be able to see at the top. As with most RPGs, you start by rolling your stats. You should start by rolling your stats, none of this point buy nonsense. You can see these listed on the character sheet. Initially, you roll the dice 6 times. MERP instructs you to re-roll any score below 20. You can assign them to the attributes in the order that you wish. As another bonus, the rules state that you can change your prime requisite to a 90. So put your lowest stat here and enjoy the freebie. With a warrior, this is strength. So these are the stats that Geekly has ended up with. I rolled an 8, which I re-rolled, and got a nice juicy 80. And I placed a 28 on strength, which gets boosted to 90. MERP is quite harsh with bonuses. You only get them for stats of 75 or higher, and you get penalties for anything under 25. You'll see that I've put the stat bonuses next to the stats themselves, along with the stat modifiers that dwarves receive, which are bonuses to strength and constitution, and penalties to agility, intuition, and presence. I then put the total bonuses in the final column. If you look to the right of the stats, you'll see the initials RR, resistance rolls. 2 are spell resistances, essence and channeling. There's also poison and disease. I've entered the dwarven racial bonuses to these in the special column, because dwarves are tough. I'm not going to fill in the stat bonus columns anywhere else on the sheet yet, as they could potentially still change a little. The next step, outlined in the book, is to add the skill bonuses that come from the character's profession. This is done in the prof bonus column of the sheet, and is per level. At first level, a warrior gets +3 to all weapon skills, +1 to all general skills, and +2 to body development, which is sort of half cut off the bottom of the sheet in this image. If he reaches level 2, then he'll get these bonuses again, and so on. Each profession, or character class in D&D terms, gets a different set of bonuses here. In the book, we then move on to background and role traits. This is poor organisation. This step should be later. Plus it has issues. Each race receives a number of background points which can be spent tailoring the character. But these points are not detailed until the following section in character creation, and limits on where they can be used are not explained until Appendix 2 in the rulebook, more than 60 pages further on. It's irritating and unnecessary page flipping, so I'm not going to do this yet. I will come back to it. Skipping those 4 pages in the rulebook, we come to the skill development from the character's adolescence, like a Adventuring Life skill section. These are the skills that are automatically gained as a result of their race and culture. This is one of my favourite tables in any RPG. Across the top you'll see the list of races, including 15 different types of human. The numbers in the columns refer to the number of boxes that you colour in to show the level of proficiency in each of the skills, with the first 10 boxes for any skill equating to 5%, with subsequent boxes giving 2%. Look at the Rohirrim column. They begin with 8 skill ranks in riding. Hobbits start with 5 in stalking and hiding. This ties the various options into Tolkien's world very nicely. Though there is one oddity I will call out. Dwarfs used axes. Axes are one-handed edged weapons, or can be two-handed weapons. By default, dwarfs get no ranks in either of those skills. Instead, they start with 4 in one-handed concussion and 1 in thrown. Yes, dwarfs, warhammers. I get that. But what about axes? I've marked the starting skills on my sheet now and noted the 4 background points and 4 language ranks for later. Geekly has a 3% chance of knowledge of a list of spells, and I'm not even going to bother rolling that. He's a warrior, and his stats give him no power points for use in spellcasting. His intelligence and intuition are not high enough anyway, so pointless. Now we start to customise Geekly a little. Apprenticeship skills. As with the profession bonus, these are per level. Each class gets a number of points that can be used to add skill ranks in each category, and the player decides where to put these. Note here that 1 point gains 1 rank in 1 skill, but 3 points are needed to gain 2 points in 1 skill, and 5 are needed to gain 3. Thus it is expensive but possible to specialise. Points can also be transferred between categories, but at a cost. Exceptions to these rules are the armour-based movement and manoeuvre skills near the top of the sheet, which are always 1 rank per point, and perception, to which spare points can be transferred at no extra cost. Warriors get 3 points in movement and manoeuvre, and I've put all 3 in chain, as that is what Geekly will wear. Thankfully, there are no rust monsters in MERP. 5 points go into weapon skills, and I've spread these out, 1 in each apart from polearms. Weapons can break, and I want him to have some versatility. He gets 2 points in general skills, which I've added to climb and ride. 2 in subterfuge skills. I put those in ambush and stalk and hide, so he's not totally inept in those. And 3 in body development, which only translate to 2, as I didn't want to do any more complicated juggling for the purpose of this video. Now is the time to visit the appendices and check out dwarfs, because I now need to do that before anything else. Stupid book layout. The crappy and unsuitable example adventures in this book are next, and the racial and equipment details are tucked at the back. Back to the top of the character sheet. Height, weight, skin and hair colouring, eyes, that sort of thing, personality details. I'll fill all those in based on the specified norms for dwarfs for simplicity. Now note the special field. Dwarfs have strong defensive capabilities against heat and cold related attacks. Annoyingly, there's no room on this sheet to also list his enhanced vision in darkness, but I can remember that in play very easily. Further down the sheet, I've also noted the dwarven penalty to swimming, because they are the cats of Middle-earth and they don't do water. I must mention here, though, the neat descriptions in the race section of the rulebook. Listen to this. Lifestyle. Dwarfs are superb miners and craftsmen, and unsurpassed stoneworkers. They live in tightly knit groups and favour underground cities, which are usually cut into rugged hills or mountains. Marriage pattern: monogamous. Only a third of the race is female, and the line is traced through the male. Religion: dwarves believe that each lineage has a common spirit which permeates them and ties them all together. They revere their ancestors above all other things but Ole, their maker, and believe that in each king exists a part of his predecessors. Those of Durin's folk, the dwarfs of Moria, and the highlands of Wilderland, believe their kings to all be one dwarf, Durin the Deathless. Prejudices: orcs, wargs and dragons are the sworn enemies of all dwarven kind. Above all other races they despise these the most, although they are extremely suspicious of mages and elves. They have suffered too much as a result of magic. No dwarf will ever forget the sly words of Sauron, one whose conjuring enslaved many of their great lords. Restrictions on professions: no dwarven mages or bards. Taught and blessed by the Vala Smith Arle, dwarfs practice a plain, practical earth magic. They know of spells and enchantments, but generally scoff at the ways of elves or other conjurers, preferring instead to use such power in the making of permanent physical items. Traditional mages and bards are unheard of. Instead, they produce alchemists and engineers. Very nice. Wizards of the Coast, this is how you present playable races. Back to the character sheet, I've also added the starting dwarf languages, as they are detailed here, and added the 4 points from the adolescence stage to the list of languages, as the available options that can be learned during adolescence are in this section of the book as well. Also in this section, in the appendices, you have the racial options for background point usage and initial equipment choices. Yes, you start the game with free stuff. But for now, more page flipping back to the backgrounds bit of character creation. But I have to now leave my finger on the dwarf page, as we have to cross-reference. There are quite a few options on the backgrounds page, and Geekly has 4 points to spend here. I could do a whole video on this section, but I'll keep it brief for this one. This is potentially the best part of character creation, but it was executed very poorly, especially the special items and abilities tables. You are meant to roll on the tables, but a number of the options are utterly unsuitable for certain types of character, and they are grossly imbalanced. I insist that special items are not magical, but are instead very finely crafted, heirlooms and things like that. If I run a game of this in the near future, I will redesign this entire section myself. Though to give the rulebook some credit, it does suggest tailoring all of these for your own needs. It suggests that the GM does that. I've used the background points to give Geekly a Masterwork +10 axe, improve his one-handed edge weapon skill so he can use the axe better, give him extra hit points, which is shown on the sheet as body development, and give him a secondary crafting skill in the form of blacksmithing. Now is the time to total up all the bonuses. If you have no ranks in a skill, then you get -25. Otherwise it is +5 per rank for the first 10, then +2 for each of the next 5. I will also transfer the stat bonuses now into the relevant sections. Again, there are a couple of exceptions. Ambush is a flat +1 per point, And body development is 1d10 for each skill rank, which gives you your hit points. All characters start with a free suit of armour, with the caveat that they must have a certain degree of aptitude in moving with it. 2 free weapons from the options listed in their race section, and 2 gold pieces to spend on equipment. Again, I've done that quickly on the second page of the sheet and made a note of the total weight carried for encumbrance purposes and just filled that bit in the encumbrance section on the sheet you can see. And I've rolled for his appearance as well now. Percentile dice, as with the other stats, modified by presence bonus. He is above average for a dwarf, with 68 in appearance, youthful good looks. And thus I present Geekly, son of Yogli. He's a decent young warrior, very tough with lots of hit points. But those hit points will come to nothing if he takes a blow to his head, so he wears a helmet. That's the -5 to perception. I won't be allowing him anywhere near a boat though, with that -74 to swimming, but do expect him to be at the front of combat, clad in his chain armour and bearing his axe and shield. There we go. I've rushed through some of the sections, but hopefully you now have an idea of how a MERP character looks. It is a fiddly process, but it is flexible, and for the most part it stays very true to the subject matter, which is what matters in a game set in Tolkien's world. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, help support the channel. Until next time, see ya!